My name is Alasia Kornienko. This, what you hear now, is the sound of my speech synthesizer. I use it to help me communicate. I am the exclusive organizer of the Miss Wheelchair Canada beauty pageant for women in wheelchairs and the president of Wheelchair Dance Sport Association Canada. I am also the only competitive dancer of the paradance sport in BC. I won 10 medals in Europe and in Canada.
Go for it.
First of all, I must say that in my country, Russia, people with disabilities can only dream of many things that exist in Canada. However, the more I interact with Canadians with disabilities, the more I learn of how much more work remains to be done. I think that creating a barrier-free environment for people with disabilities is the primary task of any developed society and an urgent direction of the state's social policy. An accessible environment is a complex concept that includes equipping various urban objects with products that will help people with disabilities navigate much better in space, move more freely along the street or inside buildings, and adapt to an independent life more easily. An accessible environment for people with disabilities and other people with limited mobility is, first of all, a combination of requirements and conditions for urban design. An accessible environment is the infrastructure of facilities and transport which allows people with disabilities to move freely in spatial and special information for the implementation of a comfortable life. It is not enough just to make a wheelchair ramp in the building. It is necessary to equip the facility with all types of accessibility for all categories, for the visually impaired and the blind, for the hearing impaired and the deaf, people with musculoskeletal disorders, and other low mobility groups of the population. I would like to ask you, what just regular Vancouverians without disabilities do on their typical day after they leave home in the morning? Usually, they drive to their work, right? Now, please imagine what a person who is a wheelchair user has to do if he or she doesn't have a car. She or he should think about many things. For example, would the elevator work properly on a SkyTrain station? A broken elevators can make them late. Also, the sidewalks without ramps are a huge problem, especially when you get to an unfamiliar place and you go on a sidewalk that ends with the curbstone, not the ramp. You have to get back and look for another way to get through just one of barriers. And if you don't know that part of the city, there will be no guarantee that the next block has a ramp. There are a few sidewalks without ramps in my neighborhood. I have to remember, so I avoid those sections.
Alessia provided the answer to the first question, so she's wondering, should she continue?
Great. No, and there's one more person, and then we'll move on to the second question. So I'll ask Naz to answer. You introduce yourself. Thank you, Alicia. You introduce yourself and tell us about when you get accessibility. What does it mean to you for interpretation?
the organizer of Miss Wheelchair Canada, I have to think about funding, managing events, and activities for participants across Canada. During our pageant, I also need to explore access for the wheelchair users' accommodation at an acceptable price. I need to recommend fully accessible hotels to our participants. But I am not able to check if a particular hotel is truly or just formally accessible. Officially, the hotel could be listed as fully accessible, but it is not.
Let's leave the interpreter.
A girl from Edmonton, one of the contestants of Miss Wheelchair Canada, came to Vancouver accompanied by her parents and found herself in this situation. She is a wheelchair user, she cannot speak, and she cannot even breathe independently. The hotel they were staying at told them that it is wheelchair accessible, but it was not. Her parents had to carefully carry her up the stairs in her wheelchair to get into the room. To ensure that all contestants find accommodation that is fully accessible, I suggest the City of Vancouver consider forming a special division of accessibility experts to ensure the implementation of accessibility measures in hotels. I want to voice the opinion of one of my neighbors, who also uses a wheelchair. Here is what he said. The areas that need the most improvement are the curbside ramps and a number of elevators, including those at SkyTrain stations. The newer ones are nice. The buttons are usually reachable and not that difficult to press. The ramps in our neighborhood, Kelly Court, are really bad. It would be nice if the city would assess the ramp situation throughout the city, especially in areas like ours. Our building is populated with individuals with disabilities, mostly wheelchair users, who frequently use the area. Also, I would like to emphasize the importance of ramps and curbsides being smooth. Navigating those uneven and broken surfaces along the way to the SkyTrain station and back puts a lot of wear and tear on our wheelchairs and our too as well. That's one reason why I don't go out as much as I would. It's just not good for my chair or me to hit those bumps repeatedly. When I lived in Kitsilano, all of the corners were smooth. Another friend of mine, also a wheelchair user, said the following: I'd like to add access seating at various venues, sports, arts, culture. I'd like to see options where people with wheelchairs can sit with family, not in the back row, with their companion. It would be great to see housing options across the range, from supported housing to regular market rentals or to purchase, that have basic accessibility built in. Personally, I would love to see accessible public portable washrooms, like in Tokyo, in the parks or even on the streets. Also, it would be much easier if more buildings could have buttons to automatically open doors. As a dancer, I get invitations to participate in many events, and often I get stressed because many stages are not accessible for wheelchair users. Another contestant of Miss Wheelchair said, I looked for a closer place for hair and nails due to COVID. I have to call 3, 4 different places before finding the right one that suits my needs. I also find myself discovering a broken elevator after getting off the SkyTrain, and sometimes it makes me late, which is why I have to leave earlier than usual. Many places seem to have stairs, at least on the drive, so that provides me with very few options if, say, I'm grabbing food or looking for a new salon nearby. Vancouver definitely needs more elevators, more accessible washrooms, more ramps, and private businesses that are fully accessible for wheelchair users. the staff training in disability education more in certain jobs than others.
Great. Thank you.
It was great to meet you.